A silent stone waits for a star that returns only once in a lifetime. This is the profound connection we are about to explore, a journey into the world of 20 mysterious megaliths aligned perfectly with the stars. These ancient monuments are far more than forgotten ruins. They are stone calendars, cosmic maps, and perhaps deliberate messages from civilizations lost to time. By the end of our journey, you will see the night sky through the eyes of our most distant ancestors, uncovering a hidden layer of human genius. How did cultures across the globe with no communication build with such impossible celestial precision? And what urgent truth were they trying to preserve in rock? When you look at the oldest stones, what do you believe they are trying to tell us? The precision of these ancient alignments rests on a single, powerful idea. A culture did not need telescopes or written formulas to become master astronomers. They needed only patience, generations of dedicated observation, and the deep human desire to find order in the cosmos. This is the heart of archaeoastronomy, a field that bridges the gap between silent stones and the moving sky. It asks a simple but profound question: what did the builders see, and what did it mean to them? By combining the careful excavation of an archaeologist with the precise calculations of an astronomer, researchers can stand at a monument on a specific day, like the winter solstice, and witness the same alignment the builders engineered thousands of years ago. This is not guesswork. Scholars like Professor Clive Ruggles have dedicated their lives to this meticulous detective work, mapping how doorways frame the rising sun, or how a long shadow touches a single stone only once a year. The significance here is staggering. It reveals that these cultures, often without a written word we can understand, possessed a sophisticated, living knowledge of celestial mechanics. They tracked cycles we measure with advanced computers today. Take, for example, the great wobble of our planet's axis, a slow 26,000-year cycle called precession. This gradual shift changes which star marks the North Pole over millennia. To recognize this pattern requires observations passed down through hundreds of generations. This tells us their connection to the sky was far more than a practical calendar for planting crops. It was the very foundation of their worldview, a cosmic blueprint that linked their identity, their rituals, and their understanding of time itself to the eternal rhythms above. So how did they translate this silent, celestial knowledge into immense, earth-bound stone? The answer begins with a circle of giants on a wind-swept plain. On the Salisbury Plain in England, a ring of massive sarsen stones stands against the sky, a silent machine built for a single, spectacular event. This is Stonehenge, and its primary purpose seems breathtakingly direct. At dawn on the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, if you stand at the center of the circle and look toward the outlying heel stone, you will witness the sun cresting the horizon in perfect alignment. It is a moment of raw, engineered magic that still draws thousands of pilgrims every year. But this solar alignment is only the first layer of its genius. The monument also carefully frames the midwinter sunset, capturing the sun's lowest, weakest point in the annual cycle. This duality suggests the builders were mapping the entire journey of the sun, from its peak of strength to its symbolic death and rebirth. Furthermore, specific avenues and stones align with the moon's most extreme rising and setting points, events known as lunar standstills that occur only once every 18.6 years. Stonehenge was not just a calendar, it was a multi-generational observatory tracking the complex dance of both our closest celestial bodies. Recent discoveries have expanded this story from a single monument to an entire sacred landscape. Archaeologists using ground-penetrating radar revealed a vast complex of hidden structures, including a colossal circle of timber posts at nearby Durrington Walls, now called a superhenge. This suggests Stonehenge itself was the stone heart of a much larger ritual territory, all deliberately oriented to celestial events. Theories about its ultimate purpose weave together astronomy, community, and belief. It may have served as a precise astronomical observatory for a priestly class, a temple for honoring ancestors linked to the eternal cycles of the sky, or a great communal calendar regulating festivals and agriculture. The presence of the smaller blue stones transported over a great distance hints at another layer. Some researchers propose these stones were valued not just for their rarity, but for perceived healing properties, perhaps believed to be charged by the very celestial forces the monument tracked. The enduring mystery, then, is not merely the staggering effort of construction, but the profound why. Why did a Neolithic society dedicate centuries to capturing the sun's journey in stone? The answer seems to be that for them, the sky was not a distant void. It was a living, divine script, and Stonehenge was their permanent, unshakable anchor to its rhythms. Yet this mastery of our own solar system was just a prelude. Other ancient builders fixed their gaze farther out, aiming their monuments at the timeless, fixed points of distant suns. While Stonehenge captured the sun and moon, another civilization aimed its greatest monument at the timeless stars themselves. On the Giza Plateau, the Great Pyramid stands as a testament to an alignment so precise it borders on the impossible. Its four sides are oriented to the cardinal directions north, south, east, and west, with an error so minute it is less than a fraction of a single degree. This alone would be a staggering feat of engineering for its time, but the pyramid's celestial connections run far deeper, piercing its very heart. From the inner chambers, narrow shafts, often called star shafts, point directly upward. For decades, these were thought to be simple ventilation channels, but modern astronomical analysis revealed a breathtaking purpose. These shafts are not randomly placed. One from the King's Chamber targets the star Alnitak, the central star of Orion's belt. Another aligns with the star Thuban, which was the North Star when the pyramid was built around 2,500 years before the Common Era. This is not a coincidence. It is a deliberate, frozen snapshot of the night sky. The most compelling interpretation of this comes from the Orion correlation theory, popularized by researcher Robert Bovell. He proposed that the layout of the three main Giza pyramids mirrors the precise arrangement of the three stars in Orion's belt. In ancient Egyptian cosmology, Orion was associated with Osiris, the god of the afterlife, rebirth, and the underworld. By constructing a monumental map of these stars on the ground, the builders were creating a permanent gateway. The pyramid was far more than a tomb. It was a machine for celestial rebirth. The pharaoh's soul, upon his passing, would use these star-aligned shafts to ascend directly to the eternal realm of Osiris, joining the imperishable stars. This profound belief system required generations of meticulous astronomical observation. To pinpoint a specific star's position requires tracking its slow drift across millennia, a feat that speaks to a sophisticated, priestly class of astronomer priests who served as the bridge between Earth and heaven. The Great Pyramid, therefore, is both an engineering marvel and a theological statement carved in stone. It tells us that for the ancient Egyptians, the afterlife was not a vague, distant concept. It was a specific, mapped destination in the cosmos, and their greatest architectural achievement was a launch pad to the stars. Yet this desire to mirror the heavens in stone was not confined to the deserts of Egypt. Across the Atlantic, in the dense jungles of Central America, another culture built a pyramid that performs a spectacular celestial trick every year. Deep in the lush Boyne Valley of Ireland, a different kind of pyramid captures the sun not at its peak, but at its weakest moment. Newgrange is a massive, circular mound of earth and stone, older than both Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid. For most of the year, its interior is a dark, silent passage leading to a central chamber. but for a brief window around the winter solstice, something miraculous happens. At dawn, as the sun reaches its lowest and southernmost point on the horizon, a slender beam of light pierces a specially constructed opening above the entrance, known as a roof box. This golden thread then travels down the 60-foot-long passageway, finally flooding the inner chamber with a warm, direct light for precisely 17 minutes. This is not a happy accident of architecture. The roof box is a feat of precise engineering, its slab carefully positioned and angled to filter the light only during these few critical days. It is a deliberate, calculated kiss from the sun, engineered over 5,000 years ago. The meaning behind this alignment is profound. In the depth of winter, when the world is cold, dark, and seemingly lifeless, the people who built Newgrange orchestrated a guaranteed symbol of hope. The returning light penetrating the deepest, most sacred space symbolized rebirth, the promise of the sun's strength returning, and the eternal cycle of life overcoming darkness. This was likely central to their beliefs about the journey after life, connecting their ancestors resting within the mound to the regenerative power of the cosmos. While the solstice sun is the main event, the monument's celestial connections may run deeper. Some researchers studying the site note that the complex layout of the mound and its surrounding standing stones might also track the moon's complex cycles and potentially even align with bright stars like Capella, which would have held significance in their long winter nights. The achievement of Newgrange is a testament to a society that did not just observe nature, they collaborated with it. They predicted the sun's most subtle behavior, its lowest annual path, and then built a permanent, monumental instrument to celebrate it. This mastery of solar cycles set a foundation, but it also raises a compelling question. If ancient cultures could so perfectly capture the predictable paths of the sun and moon, could they have also aimed their monuments at targets that move in far more mysterious and unpredictable ways? This leads us to a stone temple that seems to have been built for a celestial event so rare, it feels like a message across time. A stone comb etched against the arid sky of Peru holds a secret more precise than any modern calendar. This is Chankillo, a line of 13 rectangular towers marching across a desert ridge for nearly 1,000 feet, built over 2,300 years ago. At first glance, it resembles a fortress wall, but its true purpose was far more ingenious. From two distinct observing points, one to the east and one to the west of the ridge, the entire structure transforms into a colossal solar device. As the sun rises or sets, its position relative to the gaps between the towers shifts day by day. On the June solstice, it appears at the northernmost tower. By the December solstice, it has traveled to the southernmost one. Every tower and every gap marks a specific date in the solar year, allowing a trained observer to pinpoint the day with an accuracy of just 1 or 2 days simply by watching where the sun emerged or vanished. This makes Chankillo the oldest known solar observatory in all of the Americas, a functional calendar carved directly into the landscape. Its brilliance lies in its elegant simplicity. Unlike a complex mechanism, it required no moving parts, no delicate adjustments, only the profound, accumulated knowledge of the solar cycle and the skill to translate that knowledge into permanent, immovable stone. This site fundamentally reshapes our understanding of history. For a long time, the narrative of advanced astronomy was centered on the so-called Old World, on Stonehenge and the pyramids. Chankillo stands as a powerful testament to a parallel flowering of celestial genius. It proves that the drive to measure time, to harmonize human life with the cosmos, was a universal human endeavor, emerging independently across the globe. The people here did not just watch the sky. They built a mountainous ruler to measure its most fundamental cycle. Yet if tracking the steady sun was an act of practical genius, what does it say about a culture that chose to dedicate its greatest monument not to our life-giving star, but to the cold, unpredictable light of a distant comet. The complexity of the moon's path presented an even greater challenge than the sun's steady rhythm. In the windswept fields of Brittany, France, an ancient civilization may have built the ultimate tool to solve it. The Karnak alignments are not a single monument, but a sprawling, breathtaking landscape of stone. More than 3,000 standing stones are arranged in long, precise parallel rows that march across the countryside for kilometers. The sheer scale is overwhelming, a statement of purpose written across the earth itself. While some of these grand avenues do align with the solstice sun, researchers like Alexander Thom proposed a more intricate celestial target. He suggested that many of the rows point toward the extreme rising and setting points of the moon, events known as major lunar standstills. The moon does not follow a simple path. Its points on the horizon shift in a slow, complex dance that takes 18.6 years to complete. To recognize this pattern, to map it, and then to encode it into the very layout of the land represents a monumental intellectual achievement. Imagine the generations of observers watching, recording, and debating these subtle shifts, then translating that hard-won knowledge into the backbreaking labor of erecting thousands of stones. What was it all for? One compelling theory is that this vast array served as a giant calculator or a permanent memory aid. By observing the moon's position against this stone grid, a keeper of knowledge could predict powerful celestial events, most notably eclipses. In a world where the sun or moon could seemingly be swallowed by darkness, the ability to foresee such an event would have been a source of immense power and sacred authority. The true purpose of Karnak remains a subject of vibrant debate. Were these long rows a ritual processional way, guiding people through ceremonies under the watchful moon? Were they a territorial marker for a society deeply connected to the cosmos? Or were they, as some argue, a form of landscape-scale astronomical computer, turning an entire region into a permanent diagram of the sky? The Karnak stones remind us that megalithic science was not always contained within a single circle or pyramid. Sometimes it was woven directly into the horizon, a testament to a vision so grand it could only be expressed across miles of enduring stone. The sun's path across the sky is not a straight line but a slow, seasonal arc. On a small, sun-baked island in the Mediterranean, a prehistoric temple captures this entire celestial journey in stone. The Mnajdra temple complex on Malta is a masterpiece of solar engineering, built by a mysterious culture that vanished long before the pyramids of Egypt rose. Its builders left no written records, only these immense structures of coralline limestone, shaped into graceful cloverleaf plans that seem to curl inward like stone petals. What they did leave behind, however, is a silent, annual performance of light that continues to this day. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, when day and night are of equal length, the first rays of the rising sun pass with perfect precision through the temple's main doorway. This beam travels across the central space to strike a specific, decorated stone slab deep within the lower temple, marking a moment of perfect celestial balance. But the temple's genius does not end there. During the solstices, the sun's behavior changes. At the summer solstice, a slab of sunlight illuminates the outer edge of a megalith on the left side of an apse. 6 months later, at the winter solstice, the same effect occurs on a corresponding slab to the right. This means a single, sophisticated structure tracks the sun's 4 most critical turning points in the year. The precision required for this, achieved around 3,600 years before the Common Era, is staggering. It speaks of a society that did not merely notice the sun's movements, but dedicated generations to quantifying them, then encoding that knowledge into architecture of immense permanence. This was likely vital for practical reasons, providing an impeccable calendar to schedule planting and harvest in a challenging island environment. Yet the scale and artistry of Mnajdra suggest its purpose ran far deeper than agriculture. The cloverleaf shape repeated across Malta's temples may have mirrored a sacred cosmology, a belief that the order of the heavens should be reflected in the design of their most holy spaces. The temples were likely centers of ritual where the community gathered to witness these celestial alignments, reaffirming their connection to the cycles of nature and the divine. This raises a haunting and profound question. What belief system, what shared understanding of the universe, was so powerful and so urgent that it motivated people to move multi-ton stones without metal tools, shaping them with such exacting astronomical intent? The temples stand as a testament to a faith written not in words, but in light and shadow, a permanent contract between earth and sky whose original signatories remain forever silent. A spiral carved into a cliff face waits for its annual moment of illumination. High on Fajada, but in the arid expanse of Choco Canyon, the ancestral Puebloans engineered one of the most elegant and precise celestial markers ever discovered. Here, 3 massive stone slabs, carefully positioned, do not form a wall or a monument in the traditional sense. Instead, they act as a celestial aperture, a natural lens filtering the raw desert sunlight. Behind them, carved directly into the rock face, are 2 intricate spiral petroglyphs. For most of the year, these carvings sit in quiet shadow, but on specific, critical days, the architecture of light and stone performs a silent, breathtaking dance. At noon around the summer solstice, a brilliant sliver of light, known as the sun dagger, pierces the gap between the slabs and slices directly through the center of the larger spiral. 6 months later, at the winter solstice, the phenomenon transforms. 2 distinct daggers of light appear, perfectly framing the same spiral on either side. This is not a vague alignment, it is a targeted, repeatable, and unmistakable signal written in light, a sophisticated solar calendar etched directly into the landscape. The discovery of this site in the 1970s sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Before this, the astronomical achievements of ancient North American cultures were often underestimated or overlooked. The sun dagger proved with undeniable clarity that the ancestral Puebloans possessed a deep, precise understanding of the solar cycle. They could predict the sun's most extreme positions with such accuracy that they could design a passive, immovable instrument to highlight them. But the genius of Fajada Butte may run even deeper. Researchers analyzing the patterns of light and shadow over many years noticed that the daggers also seemed to mark the more complex 18.6-year cycle of the moon, tracking its major standstills. This suggests the site was a multi-generational observatory, capturing the intertwined rhythms of both our closest celestial bodies. What makes this place so profoundly moving is its integration of science, art, and sacred space. The spiral is not merely a target, it is a powerful cultural symbol found throughout Puebloan cosmology, often representing life, journey, or emergence. The sunlight did not strike a blank wall, it interacted with a sacred image, charging it with cosmic meaning. This was astronomy made visceral and spiritual, a direct communion between the heavens and a symbol of deep cultural identity. The entire ceremony required no human intervention, no moving parts, just the patient architecture of the butte itself, turning the entire cliff into a sacred clock. Yet this masterpiece of ancient ingenuity also carries a sobering lesson in fragility. The alignment at Fajada Butte is exquisitely delicate, dependent on the exact angles of the 3 stone slabs. In the late 20th century, a rockslide, likely accelerated by erosion from researchers and visitors, shifted one of the critical slabs. The perfect sun dagger phenomenon, as the ancestral Puebloans engineered it, has been permanently altered. This loss is a poignant reminder that these ancient observatories are not timeless in a literal sense. They are delicate dialogues between culture and cosmos, vulnerable to the very passage of time they were built to measure. The story of Fajada Butte thus becomes twofold, a celebration of human brilliance and a cautionary tale about the precious, irreplaceable nature of our shared astronomical heritage. This seamless blend of art and precise observation raises a compelling question. If a civilization could encode such complex data into a single cliff face, what could they achieve across an entire city, deliberately designed as a mirror to the heavens? Buried beneath a German wheat field for nearly 7,000 years, a simple wooden circle rewrites the history of European science. The Goseck Circle, discovered only in 1991, is a Neolithic enclosure of earth and timber dating to around 4,900 years before the Common Era. This makes it centuries older than Stonehenge, a contemporary of the very first farmers who were transforming the continent. Its design is deceptively straightforward, a circular ditch and bank with an inner ring of wooden posts. But the placement of its 3 gates reveals a stunning purpose. 2 opposing gates align precisely with the sunrise and sunset of the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. A 3rd gate aligns with the summer solstice sunrise. This was not a fort or a village. It was a precise, open-air instrument for tracking the sun's most critical journey. The Goseck Circle stands as arguably the oldest known solar observatory in all of Europe, a calibrated machine built from oak and soil. Its discovery was a seismic event for archaeologists. For a long time, the narrative of advanced prehistoric astronomy was anchored to the famous stone circles of Britain and France. Goseck proved that the intellectual spark for this celestial science ignited much earlier and much farther east, among the early farming communities of Central Europe. These were people just emerging from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, yet they possessed the collective patience and skill to observe solar patterns with such exactitude that they could engineer a permanent landscape marker for them. The circle's function was almost certainly tied to the rhythm of survival. For an agricultural society, knowing the exact moment of the winter solstice was not abstract knowledge, it was vital intelligence. It marked the symbolic death and imminent rebirth of the sun, promising the return of light and warmth, guiding the timing of sowing and harvest in a challenging climate. The space within the wooden palisade was likely a communal ritual ground, where people gathered to witness the solstice sunrise pierce the designated gate, participating in a ceremony that reaffirmed their bond with the cycles that govern their lives. This forces a profound reconsideration of the timeline of human discovery. Sophisticated astronomy, with its implications for mathematics, engineering, and social organization, was not a Bronze Age innovation. It was a Neolithic necessity, born from the intimate relationship between the first farmers and the sky they depended upon. The Goseck Circle is a quiet, powerful testament to a scientific mind already at work in the dawn of settled European life. If a simple wooden ring could mark the sun with such precision, what does it say about a civilization that chose to encode not just solar cycles, but the entire path of the Milky Way into the very streets of their capital city? Beneath the sunlit temples of Malta lies a world of profound silence and engineered sound. The Hypogeum of Saflieni is not a structure built upward toward the sky, but one carved meticulously downward into the living limestone, a sprawling, 3-level subterranean labyrinth that served as a collective resting place and ceremonial complex for over a millennium. Within this haunting and sacred space, a particular room challenges our very understanding of how ancient cultures might have experienced the cosmos. This is the oracle chamber. Here, a simple niche in the wall holds an extraordinary secret. When a deep male voice speaks into this niche, the sound is transformed. It does not merely echo, it amplifies into a powerful, low-frequency resonance that seems to vibrate through the stone itself, filling the entire chamber and seeping into the corridors beyond. The acoustic properties are so precise and intentional that they cannot be an accident of excavation. Researchers like Dr. Paolo De Bertolli's, who has studied the site's unique soundscapes, suggests these chambers were designed to harness specific sound frequencies. One compelling theory posits that ritual chanting or drumming within this space, tuned to the room's natural resonant frequency, could have induced altered states of awareness in participants. This is where astronomy may re-enter the picture, not through shafts of light but through coordinated ceremony. While direct star alignments are impossible to observe from deep underground, the Hypogeum was likely part of an integrated ritual landscape. Imagine a ceremony beginning at a surface temple like Mnajdra during a solstice sunrise, with the community witnessing the celestial alignment before descending into the Earth's womb, the Hypogeum, for the next phase of the ritual. In the absolute darkness of the oracle chamber, the reverberating sound would become the primary sensory experience, a physical vibration connecting the participants to each other and to the memory of the celestial event above. This suggests a breathtakingly holistic worldview. For these ancient people, astronomy was not a detached visual science. It was a full-body spiritual practice that wove together the visual spectacle of the heavens, the tactile reality of monumental stone, and the immersive, visceral power of ritual sound. The Hypogeum stands as a testament to a culture that sought to synthesize every human sense into a single, unified experience of the sacred, binding the rhythms of the sky to the very pulse of the earth. A 9-tiered pyramid rises from the jungle mists, its form not a fortress but a three-dimensional map of the cosmos. In the heart of Java, the Borobudur temple stands as a masterpiece of the 9th century, a colossal Buddhist stupa built as a precise stone mandala. Unlike the solar apertures of Malta or the star shafts of Egypt, Borobudur's celestial alignment is not one of direct observation, but of profound symbolic architecture. Its very design is a representation of the universe according to Mahayana Buddhist cosmology, guiding the pilgrim not just through space but through spiritual states of being. The journey begins at the massive square base representing the world of desire and ascends through 5 concentric square terraces, symbolizing the world of form. The pilgrim then moves upward to 3 circular platforms, entering the world of formlessness, before reaching the central, empty stupa at the summit, representing nirvana itself. This physical climb is a mirror of a cosmic journey from the earthly to the enlightened, a walking meditation built into the landscape. While the entire structure is oriented to the cardinal directions, its relationship with the stars is more intricate. Some scholars studying the monument note that the precise arrangement of its 504 Buddha statues and over 2,600 narrative relief panels may correspond to specific constellations and planetary patterns revered in the astronomy of its time. Certain statues face specific directions associated with celestial guardians, and the timing of rituals may have been coordinated with lunar cycles or the appearance of key stars on the horizon. Borobudur represents a fascinating evolution in the ancient dialogue between stone and sky. Here, the celestial patterns are not merely tracked for calendrical or agricultural purposes. They are internalized, woven into a philosophical and spiritual system. The architecture does not function as an observatory to predict an eclipse, but as a tool to help the practitioner understand their own place within a vast, ordered universe. It shows us how the human impulse to connect with the cosmos matured from pure observation into a framework for inner transformation. This temple, built millennia after the first standing stones were raised, proves that the tradition of encoding the heavens into architecture never truly faded. It simply changed its language, speaking now of enlightenment rather than equinoxes. Yet this shift toward the symbolic raises a compelling counterpoint. What happens when we discover a monument whose celestial purpose is so brutally practical, so focused on survival, that its stones seem to shout across the centuries with a singular, urgent warning? 7 stone giants stand with their backs to the world, gazing across an endless sea. on the remote, windswept island of Rapa Nui, known to the world as Easter Island, the Ahu Akivi platform is an anomaly. While nearly all of the island's iconic moai statues face inland, watching over the villages of their descendants, these 7 solemn figures do the opposite. They are the only major group that faces the ocean, their empty eye sockets fixed on the horizon where the sky meets the water. This deliberate orientation is the first clue to a deeper, celestial story. The platform is engineered with such precision that on the equinoxes, when day and night are in perfect balance, the statues watch the sun sink directly into the sea ahead of them. They are not just facing the water, they are aligned to a pivotal moment in the solar year, a global moment of equilibrium, but the connection likely reaches far beyond the sun. Archaeological surveys of the site suggest the platform's central axis may point toward the rising point of the Pleiades star cluster. In Polynesian culture, across the vast Pacific, this cluster is known as Matariki. Its heliacal rising, its first appearance in the dawn sky after a period of invisibility, was a profoundly significant event. It marked the beginning of the new year, a time of remembrance, celebration, and the promise of new crops. For the Rapa Nui people, who were the descendants of the greatest navigators in human history, the stars were not just points of light, they were a living map and a sacred calendar. Their ancestors had crossed thousands of miles of open ocean by reading the stars, the swells, and the flight of birds. This celestial knowledge was their most vital inheritance. So what does it mean that their deified ancestors, embodied in these immense stone moai, might be aligned with Matariki? It transforms the platform from a simple memorial into a profound cosmological statement. The statues, representing powerful lineage chiefs or founders, become eternal witnesses to the cycle of renewal itself. As the Pleiades rose to signal a new beginning, these stone ancestors would be symbolically facing that very source of time and regeneration. It connects the lineage of the people, anchored in the island stone, to the eternal cycles of the cosmos that guided them to this isolated shore. Ahu Akivi is not a monument of isolation, it is a monument of connection, a land-based star compass forever honoring the celestial knowledge that defined a civilization. This suggests that even in their most stationary and earthbound creations, the Rapa Nui were still navigators, building a fixed point that forever acknowledges the moving sky that made their world possible. If statues can be silent navigators, what does it say about an entire city that was designed to be a mirror, not of the sea, but of the galaxy streaking across the heavens? High in the Andean clouds, a granite pillar stands as if waiting for a cosmic visitor. This is the Intihuatana stone of Machu Picchu, a carved outcropping whose name translates to the hitching post of the sun. For the Inca, this was no mere metaphor. It was a functional, sacred instrument designed to perform a specific annual miracle. During the equinoxes, when day and night hang in perfect balance across the globe, the sun would position itself almost directly overhead this stone. At that precise moment, the pillar would cast no shadow at all, a phenomenon the Inca interpreted as the sun being successfully tethered in its place, secured to the earth to ensure its promised return. This alignment was the heart of a sophisticated astronomical system. The stone's intricate angles and planes are believed to have functioned as a multi-purpose observatory. By observing the shadows cast across its different surfaces throughout the year, Inca priests could accurately mark the solstices and the all-important equinoxes. These dates were the bedrock of their empire, governing the intricate agricultural calendar that fed millions across the vast Andean terrain. But the stone's purpose soared far beyond practical farming. It was the spiritual anchor for ceremonies like Inti Raymi, the grand festival of the sun, where the ruler himself would lead rituals to ensure the sun's strength and the empire's prosperity. The stone's design may have also incorporated alignments to significant stars, weaving lunar and stellar cycles into its solar function. This holistic vision reveals a civilization that saw no separation between the rhythms of the sky, the fertility of the earth, and the stability of their society. They were all one interconnected system, and the Intihuatana was the pivotal knot that tied them together. This makes the stone's survival a small miracle in itself. When the Spanish arrived, they recognized the profound power these objects held for the Inca worldview. In a campaign to dismantle that cosmic connection, they systematically sought out and destroyed every Intihuatana they could find. The stone at Machu Picchu, hidden by the mountains and lost to time, escaped this fate. It stands now not just as a relic of engineering, but as a silent witness to a civilization's profound desire to literally hitch their destiny to the orderly march of the heavens. The sheer number of stones at the Ring of Brodgar hints at a purpose beyond simple solar marking. On a thin strip of land in Scotland's Orkney Islands, this Neolithic circle originally boasted 60 massive stones, of which 27 still stand. Its scale is immediately arresting, a perfect ring over 340 feet wide, set upon a stage crafted by nature itself. The location is no accident. The circle sits on a narrow isthmus, a natural bridge of land pinched between the dark waters of the Loch of Stenness and the Loch of Harray. This creates a low, clean horizon in every direction, an uninterrupted canvas against which the movements of the sun and moon could be tracked with absolute clarity. While the rising sun at the summer solstice aligns with a prominent notch in the distant hills, confirming a solar function, many researchers believe this was only a secondary feature. The primary genius of Brodgar may have been lunar. The moon's path is far more complex than the sun's, and its most extreme rising and setting points, the lunar standstills, occur only once every 18.6 years. To map this long cycle requires generations of observation and a permanent, precise recording system. The Brodgar circle, with its many stones, could have served as a sophisticated stone computer. Each stone or pair of stones might have acted as a foresight, lining up with a specific feature on that clean horizon to mark a critical lunar event. A keeper of knowledge standing at the circle's center or at a specific outlier stone could watch the moon rise or set between these megalithic sightlines, tracking its slow, majestic wobble across the sky. This transforms the ring from a static monument into a dynamic observatory, its true function revealed only by the patient return of a celestial body over decades. But Brodgar's story grows even richer when you step back. It is not an isolated temple, but the beating heart of a vast ceremonial landscape. Within a few square miles, you find the standing stones of Stenness, the enormous tomb of Misho, and the sophisticated village of Skara Brae. These sites are not randomly placed. They are deliberately positioned in relation to one another and to Brodgar itself, forming a gigantic ritual complex. Some researchers, like Professor Colin Richards, suggest the entire layout of this Neolithic heartland might itself mirror celestial patterns. The relationship between the circle, the tomb, and the settlement could reflect a cosmological map, with the land itself serving as a model of the universe as these people understood it. Here, astronomy was not confined to a single alignment. It was woven into the very fabric of the territory, connecting the living community, the realm of the ancestors, and the cycles of the cosmos through a network of stone, earth, and sightline. The Ring of Brodgar teaches us that for its builders, the sky was not separate from the land or the water. It was all one interconnected system, and their greatest monuments were the fixed points that made sense of that sacred unity. Beneath the clear, turquoise waves off Japan's southernmost island, a mystery lies carved into the seafloor. The Yonaguni Monument is a sprawling complex of massive sandstone blocks, featuring what appear to be sharp, flat terraces, straight walls, and perfect right angles that descend to depths of nearly 100 feet. To the eye, it looks undeniably architectural, like the sunken ruins of a vast plaza or a stepped pyramid reclaimed by the ocean. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura has spent decades studying the site, and he presents a compelling case. He points to features that seem to defy simple geology, like twin megaliths that look like carved pillars and a triangular rock formation that some propose could align with the summer solstice sunrise. If these alignments and shapes are intentional, the implications are staggering. It would suggest a sophisticated culture capable of monumental architecture at a time when sea levels were dramatically lower, potentially rewriting the timeline of human civilization in the Pacific. This site, however, stands at the fiery center of scientific debate, and it perfectly illustrates one of the greatest challenges in archaeoastronomy. The central question is not just about alignment, but about agency. How do we definitively distinguish a structure shaped by human hands from one sculpted by the immense, patient forces of nature? Ocean currents, seismic activity, and the natural fracturing of sedimentary rock can create surprisingly geometric formations. Mainstream geology argues that Yonaguni is a spectacular example of this, a natural wonder shaped by tidal forces and erosion along the stone's natural bedding planes. The controversy forces us to examine our own perceptions. We are pattern-seeking creatures, and when we see straight lines and right angles, our minds instinctively leap to human design. This cognitive bias can be a powerful tool for discovery, but it can also lead us to see intention where there is only chance. Whether a natural masterpiece or a human one, Yonaguni serves a profound purpose in our story. It acts as a necessary cautionary tale, reminding us that the desire to find meaning in ancient stones must be tempered with rigorous skepticism. Extraordinary claims, like a lost civilization submerged for thousands of years, require extraordinary evidence. Yet it also sparks a thrilling sense of possibility. Our planet's surface is ever-changing, with coastlines shifting and seas rising over millennia. If a formation as visually striking as Yonaguni can remain a subject of intense debate, how many other potential sites, clear in their intent, might still be hidden beneath forests, deserts, or waves, completely unknown to us? This mystery beneath the sea expands the search, suggesting that the map of ancient celestial architecture may be far larger and more mysterious than we have ever dared to believe. The axis of an entire civilization could be measured in stone and sunlight. In the ancient city of Thebes, now Luxor, the sprawling temple complex of Karnak stands as perhaps the ultimate expression of this principle. While not a single, free-standing megalith, Karnak is a city of stone, a vast architectural landscape where every column, every pylon, and every corridor was part of a grand celestial design. Its primary axis, stretching over half a kilometer from the great entrance to the innermost sanctuary, was precisely oriented toward the midwinter solstice sunset. This was no subtle alignment. As the sun reached its lowest, weakest point in the annual cycle, its dying rays would blaze directly down the central avenue, through the forest of colossal columns in the hypostyle hall, and pierce the darkness of the most sacred chamber. This dramatic event was a direct, theatrical manifestation of a core belief. It symbolized the rebirth of the sun god Amun-Ra, who, like the sun itself, entered a period of symbolic weakness only to be reborn with renewed strength. The entire temple was engineered to stage this cosmic drama annually, making the abstract concept of solar rebirth a visceral, witnessed reality for the priesthood and the pharaoh. What makes Karnak uniquely instructive is that this alignment was not a one-time achievement frozen in a single reign. The temple complex was built, expanded, and remodeled by successive pharaohs for over 2,000 years. With each new addition, a larger pylon, a more elaborate hall, the central solar axis was carefully maintained and even emphasized. This tells us that celestial alignment was not a forgotten secret of the founders, but a living, dynamic pillar of the state religion. Each pharaoh, by reinforcing this solar connection, was demonstrating his divine duty to maintain Ma'at, the fundamental order of the cosmos. His earthly rule was directly linked to the perpetual, reliable cycle of the heavens. Karnak represents the full institutionalization of celestial observation. Here, astronomy moved beyond the realm of priestly knowledge or ancestral ritual. It became the architectural backbone of political power and theological doctrine, written in stone on a scale meant to last for eternity. This raises a fascinating contrast then. If a civilization could so publicly and permanently encode its primary god into a temple's axis, what does it say about another culture that chose to hide its celestial knowledge, not in grand avenues, but in secret chambers and buried artifacts, leaving a puzzle that would only be solved thousands of years later? From the institutionalized astronomy of Karnak, we shift to a symbol that seems to defy the very idea of permanence. On the rolling green slopes of an Oxfordshire hill in England, a creature of pure white chalk has watched over the landscape for 3,000 years. This is the Uffington White Horse, a geoglyph so vast its sweeping, abstract form can only be fully appreciated from the sky above. Unlike the stacked stones of a circle or the dressed blocks of a pyramid, this monument was made by cutting deep trenches into the hillside and packing them with brilliant white chalk, creating a striking, living contrast against the green turf. Dated to the late Bronze Age, its survival is a testament to constant communal care, as generations have gathered to clear weeds and replenish the chalk, keeping the horse alive. But what was its original purpose? The figure is stylized, almost modern in its elegant, flowing lines, more a symbol of motion than a literal animal. Many believe it represents a mythical horse, perhaps connected to the Celtic goddess Epona, a deity of horses, fertility, and the land. Its placement on the hillside is no accident. From specific vantage points on the ground, particularly from the valley below, the horse does not appear static. On certain days, under specific lighting conditions, like the low, raking light of a solstice sunset or the stark glow of a full moon, the figure seems to detach from the hill. It creates an astonishing illusion of movement, as if the horse is galloping along the ridgeline. This is where astronomy enters the story. While not a precise instrument like a stone circle, the white horse may have been designed to interact with celestial events. Researchers have proposed that its orientation and the shape of the hill could cause it to be dramatically highlighted or cast into sharp relief during key lunar phases, or when particular constellations, like the one we call Pegasus, dominate the winter sky. The entire hillside becomes a ceremonial stage. Instead of building upward, these ancient people sculpted the earth itself, turning a vast, living canvas into a symbol that engaged in a dynamic dialogue with the heavens above. The horse does not point to a single star. Instead, the sky provides the changing light that brings it to life. This represents a profoundly different, yet equally powerful, method of cosmic engagement. It is astronomy expressed not through architecture, but through landscape art, a permanent symbol waiting for the sky to provide its annual performance. A single, decorated stone stands apart from her family, holding a winter secret. In the rolling countryside of Cumbria, England, the circle known as Long Meg and her daughters presents a more intimate vision of megalithic astronomy. Here, a ring of some 60 weathered stones, the daughters, is watched over by a towering, solitary red sandstone pillar just outside the circle. This is Long Meg herself, an outlier with a profound purpose. From the precise center of the circle, if you look toward Long Meg on the shortest day of the year, you will witness the midwinter sun sinking directly behind her broad shoulder. She is not merely part of the monument, she is its permanent sighting device, a frozen pointer marking the sun's most critical turn. But Long Meg holds another layer of mystery. Upon her surface, facing away from the circle, are carved ancient symbols, spirals, and circular depressions known as cup marks. This combination is exceptionally rare. The art is not placed randomly, it is on the very stone that defines the solstice alignment. This suggests the carvings were not simple decoration, but a form of sacred notation. Perhaps they recorded the event itself, a myth connected to the dying sun, or even served as a tally marking generations of witnessed alignments. The site feels deeply personal, as if the builders designated one stone, one entity, with a unique and vital role. Long Meg was the keeper of the solstice, her carved skin a testament to the spiritual weight of that moment. This transforms our understanding of a stone circle from a uniform arrangement into a community with specialized roles. Within the collective of the daughters, Long Meg had a singular job to catch the year's last, weakest light and signal the promise of its return. It personalizes the cosmic connection, hinting that for the people who gathered here, the turning of the year was not an abstract event, but a drama witnessed through the silent, steadfast presence of a named stone. High on a lonely Wyoming mountain, a wheel of stones waits for the stars. The Bighorn Medicine Wheel rests on a windswept plateau nearly 10,000 feet above sea level, a stark and beautiful arrangement of limestone rocks forming a perfect circle with 28 spokes radiating from a central cairn. This is not a monument of the distant, unknowable past, but one where living memory and oral tradition provide a direct key to its celestial purpose. For generations, native tribes of the northern plains, including the Crow, have known this place as a sacred site of prayer, vision, and profound astronomical observation. Through careful ethnographic work with tribal elders and knowledge keepers, researchers have learned that the wheel's alignments are precise and deliberate. Specific cairns of stones placed around the outer circle point toward the summer solstice sunrise and sunset, marking the peak of the sun's power in a short, harsh mountain summer. But the wheel's true sophistication is revealed after dark. Other stone cairns align with the heliacal risings of brilliant stars like Aldebaran in Taurus, Rigel in Orion, and Sirius, the brightest star in our sky. The heliacal rising is that first, brief reappearance of a star in the dawn sky after a period of invisibility behind the sun. For the people who used this wheel, these celestial events were not abstract markers, they were a practical and spiritual calendar woven into the fabric of life. The rising of Aldebaran might signal the time to begin a specific ceremonial cycle, while the appearance of Rigel could indicate the optimal moment to move camp or prepare for the buffalo hunt. This transforms the medicine wheel from an ancient ruin into a timeless instruction manual. It shows us that astronomical knowledge was preserved not in written texts, but in the landscape itself and in the stories and ceremonies passed from one generation to the next. The alignments were a way of synchronizing human activity with the reliable rhythms of the cosmos, ensuring survival and maintaining harmony with the natural world. This high-altitude star map is a powerful reminder that the connection between stone and sky was never merely an intellectual exercise. It was, and for many indigenous cultures still is, a living dialogue, a way of navigating both the physical journey across the plains and the spiritual journey through the year. Two stone circles stand together on a Portuguese hillside, a conversation across millennia. The Almenda's cromlech is not a single monument, but a pair of enclosures built centuries apart, making it the largest and one of the oldest stone circle complexes in all of the Iberian Peninsula. The older circle, a gentle oval of smaller stones, dates back over 7,000 years. The second, larger circle nearby was added perhaps 2,000 years later, its stones more prominent and its design more defined. This staggered construction is the site's first great clue. It tells us this place was not built in a single grand vision, but was a living, evolving sacred space where astronomical knowledge was not lost, but rather carefully inherited and expanded. The alignments here speak to a deep, practical connection with the sky. Key stones within the complex are oriented toward the equinox sunrise, that moment of perfect balance between day and night. But another, perhaps more evocative alignment points to the sunrise in early May, coinciding with the ancient festival of Beltane. This was a traditional cross-quarter day, marking the midpoint between the spring equinox and summer solstice, a time deeply associated with fertility, fire, and the flourishing of life. For an agricultural society, knowing this precise date was as crucial as knowing the solstices, guiding the critical transition from planting to the growth season. The stones themselves hold further mystery. Several are marked with cup marks, small, carved depressions. While their exact purpose is debated, they may have served as simple sighting devices, where a standing peg or even a drop of morning dew could catch the first light of a significant sunrise. Alternatively, they could be symbolic maps of constellations or records of cycles, a form of permanent notation etched directly into the megaliths. The true story of Almenders, however, is told by its two circles. It shows us that megalithic astronomy was not a static, forgotten science. It was a living tradition. One generation established a cosmic marker, and centuries later, their descendants returned to the same hallowed ground. They did not dismantle the old code, they added to it, building a new, grander circle that respected and refined the original alignments. The knowledge of the sky was a sacred heirloom, continuously curated and updated across hundreds of generations. This site dissolves the idea of a single, builder culture and replaces it with something more profound, a lasting covenant between a people and their cosmos, maintained and recommitted to across an unimaginable span of time. The stones of Almenders are not a closed book, but an open ledger with new entries made in stone long after the first page was written. The moon's long, slow dance found its most elegant stone partner on a remote Scottish island. On the Isle of Lewis, the Callanish stones rise from the peat like a congregation of slender, weathered giants, arranged not in a simple circle, but in a breathtaking cruciform shape. A central stone circle gives way to a long avenue running north and shorter arms extending east, west, and south, creating a monumental stone cross laid upon the land. This unique design is the first clue that something different is happening here, a departure from the solar-focused monuments we have seen. While one of its avenues does align with the midsummer moonset, the true genius of Callanish is calibrated for a far more patient and elusive rhythm. This site is a masterwork of lunar astronomy, built to witness an event that occurs only once in a generation. Every 18.6 years, the moon reaches the peak of its complex wobble, a period known as a major lunar standstill. During this cycle, from the latitude of Callanish, the moon does not simply rise and set. At its most extreme southern point, it appears to skim along the horizon, almost rolling across the ridges of the distant hills. The stones of Callanish are positioned with exquisite care to frame this celestial performance. As the moon makes its low, slow journey, it seems to glide between the stones, to pause at the end of an avenue, and to cast long, dramatic shadows through the heart of the complex. For a few nights every 18.6 years, the silent stones become active participants in a cosmic ballet. Imagine the significance of such a rare event. Unlike the dependable annual return of the solstice sun, this lunar spectacle required a society capable of preserving precise knowledge across generations. Elders who witnessed the last standstill would have to pass that memory down to children who would be adults by the time the next one arrived. This long-term memory, etched into the landscape itself, suggests the moon held a profound, perhaps even dominant, place in their cosmology. The lunar cycle governs tides, influences rhythms in the natural world, and its phases provided an early measure of time. At Callanish, the builders elevated this relationship to its grandest possible scale. The major standstill would have been a time of immense ceremony, likely drawing people from across the region to witness the moon's most dramatic statement, reaffirming a sacred covenant between the community and a celestial power they saw as deeply influential over their world. Callanish powerfully challenges a solar-centric view of ancient astronomy. It reveals that for some cultures, the moon's subtle, patient, and mysterious journey was not secondary, but primary, worthy of their most sophisticated and enduring architectural effort. This final alignment, focused on a generational event, brings our journey to a poignant close, yet it also circles back to the very first question we asked. What unified these 20 distant cultures across continents and millennia to look up and build with such impossible precision? From the solstice sunrise at Stonehenge to the lunar standstill at Callanish, a single thread connects every stone we have explored. Across continents and millennia, our ancestors performed the same profound act. They looked up at the boundless, star-filled sky and felt a compelling need to reach back, to build a permanent handshake between the Earth and the cosmos. These 20 sites are not random piles of rock. They are carefully crafted interfaces, each one a testament to a deep, universal human desire to find order, meaning, and connection in the vast and often mysterious heavens. The recurring themes are impossible to ignore. First, patient observation. Generations watch the sky, noting patterns that repeat over days, years, and even lifetimes. Then, breathtaking precision. They translated those patterns into stone with an accuracy that still stuns engineers today. But most importantly, seamless integration. For these cultures, astronomy was never a detached science. It was the living pulse of their entire world, completely inseparable from their religion, their agriculture, their governance, and their very identity. The sun's return dictated both the planting season and the festival calendar. The moon's phases guided both ritual and harvest. A star's rising could signal a time for mourning, for celebration, or for navigation. The sky was the ultimate clock, calendar, and scripture all in one. While many mysteries remain about the exact beliefs and construction methods of the builders, one truth emerges with crystalline clarity. Our ancestors were sophisticated scientists of the sky. They possessed a working knowledge of celestial mechanics that we, with all our technology, are only now fully appreciating. They tracked cycles we measure with computers, using nothing more than markers on the horizon and memory passed through song and story. Their legacy, etched in granite and chalk and limestone, is not one of primitive superstition, but of brilliant, empirical engagement with the universe. This global tapestry of ancient genius now lies quiet in fields, on mountains, and under seas, but their silent stones still speak. They urge us in our own busy, illuminated age to simply look up, to wonder at the same stars they mapped, to remember that we, too, are part of this endless, beautiful cosmic dance. Their monuments are a gift across time, a reminder of our shared yearning to understand our place in the grand story. If this journey through time and space resonated with you, we would love to hear your thoughts. Which of these 20 megaliths fascinates you the most? Share your choice in the comments below and subscribe for more explorations into history's greatest enigmas.